Hello, I'm Katja Sonnenschein from the Slovenian Forestry Institute, and my responsibilities are communication and dissemination activities of the LIFEGENMON project. In this presentation, I would like to communicate to you how we have communicated the importance of forest genetic diversity and forest genetic monitoring to different publics, to general public, and to special target groups. To general public, we have been basically explaining the picture that Domen Finchgard drew while working on the LIFEGENMON project, that the ecosystems rely on biodiversity, which starts at the lowest level, the G. The genetically diverse forests have better chance of surviving in times of climate change. That's very general. And to the special target groups, for the others, different approaches were taken. We communicated to forestry professionals, foresters, students, and policymakers. We didn't focus on explaining the pyramid, but rather on the process of forest genetic monitoring and the benefits of it. I will first explain the approaches that we have used for the first group, for the general public. We have even managed to explain forest genetic diversity to preschool children, but let's first focus on grown-ups. So we established the LIFEGENMON webpage. Here are 5 boxes which you can visit. This one we will see later. Here you have the news, the portal, which brings you to this one, materials and events. So if you visit the LIFEGENMON.si, you can learn about the projects, you can see all the materials, and you also have all the links to the social media, which we mainly use Twitter and Facebook. And as I said, it takes you also to this portal where we gathered some knowledge about forests. There are 4 boxes: learn about forests, teach in the forest, box for forestry professionals and students, and forest owners. So if you click in these titles, you will receive material from which you can learn about forests, about importance of forest genetic monitoring. And then we also established the conference webpage, which you have visited before. The information is not available only on the internet though. Among more visible printed publications are children books and handbook for learning and play. These I would like to show you. I'd like to show you where you can find them and download them. Let's see. Sure. Here are the cartoons that tell you about the books. And here are the books in English, Slovenian, Greek, and German. We can take a look at one. See, you have the book, and here you can find the Big Forest app. This one makes the book even more interesting. It makes it alive. The trees pop out, the birds start singing. So this is one app that we developed. And later I will explain about the other app that we developed in this project. If we go back, we will see also the other very successful book, which is a handbook for learning and play in the forest. It's a teaching material. From this handbook, you can learn about especially about the games that you can play in the forest and learn from them. They're meant for teachers, but also parents that would like to teach and entertain children and lure them to forest so they would enjoy it better. If we go back to the presentation, let me see. Okay, you can see another app, mobile app that we've developed, the Seed Hunter. I will explain it now. It's the AVG developed it. It's a forest pedagogy game for a smartphone. It's for the Android, and it goes, the Mark Walter will present it today, later. So in more detail. So if you're interested, please listen to him later. So the main concept goes like this. The player goes on the hunt for 3 seeds. The seeds are over 3,000 virtual objects, which are placed inside forests and parks. And as soon as the player approaches a virtual seed, she can collect it with a smartphone. An international ranking list shows the user's success, so you can compete with the others. What are the benefits, we think? The game takes place outside in forests and parks, and it has some educational value. It raises the awareness of the rare tree species and the tree species that are threatened with extinction. It has this collecting seeds in reality has an important task to protect genetic diversity, which we learn in the virtual space. And it gives us link between technology and nature, from smartphone to maybe truly growing a real tree later. Here we continue with the description of activities for the first group, the general public. Today, Urša Vilhar will have a poster presentation of LIFEGENMON educational activities. But I would like to only give you an idea that how successful we were in that part. Only with open days, for example, our project team reached more than 4,000 people. If we continue with the first group, we managed to publish more than 130 media pieces. Media reported on our activities in all project countries and also in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Croatia, and in South Africa. And here we come to one of the more notable LIFEGENMON project for general public, the film about the forest and climate change. It emphasizes the importance of genetic diversity to preserve the adaptive potential of forests to the changing environment. In addition, we have bought the distribution rights for the documentary Nature Parks of Slovenia, the Virgin Forest Crocker. And I suggest that we take a look, a few minutes at both, and you can also see where you can find them. So if I go and share the screen again, I will go to the featured films. Here you can find them. Among featured films, you can find some videos, and then this movie in English, and the movie about crocker. So let's have a little sneak peek in the film Forest and Climate Change.
Iz aktivnosti Evropskega programa za gozdne genske vire EUFORGEN izhaja projekt LIFEGENMON. V Sloveniji, Nemčiji in Grčiji se izvaja od leta 2014. Namen projekta je razviti sistem spremljanja oziroma monitoringa genetske pestrosti gozdnega drevja. Med cilji projekta je tudi ohranjanje genetske pestrosti na območjih med Bavarsko in Grčijo.
Poleg testiranja in razvoja verifikatorjev, se pravi merilcev genetske pestrosti za posamezne drevesne vrste, kar obsega delo na terenu in delo v laboratoriju, pripravljamo tudi smernice za izvedbo monitoringa genetske pestrosti. Zato organiziramo tudi delavnice za gozdarje in predlagamo tudi spremembe in dopolnitve zakonodaje in strategij v posameznih državah, ki bodo omogočale izvesti genetski monitoring na različnih nivojih zahtevnosti v Sloveniji in v drugih državah, ki so za slovensko gozdarstvo zanimive tudi zaradi morebitnega povečevanja genetske pestrosti in testiranja gozdnega reprodukcijskega materiala iz držav jugovzhodne Evrope na našem ozemlju. Med najbolj konkretne ukrepe genetskega varstva gozdov sodi izbor ustreznih semenskih objektov, v katerih se bo pridobivalo seme ali puljenke, načrtovanje gospodarjanja s temi sestoji, načrtovanje pridobivanja gozdnega reprodukcijskega materiala, torej predvsem semena, ki se ga naj bi pridobivalo v času masovnega obroda.
Za genetske analize najrajši uporabljamo popke, ker je v njih največ DNK-ja. Zdaj, če pridemo sredi poletja, bomo najlažje vzorčili liste. V primeru pa, da je drevo zelo visoko in da listov v nadventivnih pogankih ne dosežemo, potem pa lahko vzorčimo tudi del skorje. Za genetske analize potrebujemo približno toliko izhodnega materiala, pa ne samo za analize, ampak tudi za to, da en del tega materiala shranimo za morebitno kasnejšo uporabo, posebej v primeru genetskega monitoringa.
I will now show you a few minutes of the other movie about the virgin forest.
The southeast edge of the Alps in Slovenia. Our forest has been able to survive here during the periods of extensive glaciations. A tiny slice of it is still preserved to this day, the Krokar Primeval Forest Reserve. Foresters entered this ancient forest just over a century ago. At the edge of the then almost untouched forest in Kočevska, at the ridge of Mount Boroška Gora, they stumbled upon a primeval forest, which has remained as it was back then, a primeval beech forest. This forest and the woods in its vicinity between the Alps and the Dinaric Alps are a gene pool of the beech trees, which have, after the end of the ice ages, inhabited Central, Eastern and Northern Europe. Amongst all known European populations of beech trees that have survived the glaciations, this population here was the first to start spreading across Europe. Their seeds continue to travel, even to this day. The ice cover of Europe has descended across the Slovene Alps to their mountainous fringes. The European beech has surely survived at least the last two most intense glaciation periods in higher, more sheltered areas in the so-called refugia.
With this slide, we leave the activities that target general public and we go to communication and dissemination activities for special targeted groups. Forestry professionals, foresters, students, policymakers. Their understanding of forest genetic diversity importance, transfer of knowledge about forest genetic resources and monitoring was in focus of target communication and dissemination. We had workshops, meetings, we participated at numerous events. These efforts contributed to outcomes that were presented by Boris Antasha today. We organized internal workshops for forest owners, users of forest reproductive material, tree dealers, nurseries, seed dealers, silviculturists, policymakers. The workshops on forest seed collection and handling, on forest tree seedlings and their handling, on tending of forest stands and on inclusion of forest genetic monitoring into policy in practice, revealed the need for the protocols on the seed collection and tree seedlings. They were later published by LIFEGENMON. Andrea Gregoric presented them today in her poster presentation. At these internal workshops and other 14 events for similar public, we reached 600 people. We also had 10 workshops for silviculture and forest genetic scientists. Last year and this year, before the Corona crisis, a series of workshops were organized in the Transect area. These workshops were organized in Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Republic of Northern Macedonia for promotion of forest genetic monitoring. We also had workshops and summer schools for students. 700 students learned about LIFEGENMON. In Germany, 4 events were organized with 180 participants. In Greece, 100 students participated in 3 events. And in Slovenia, we reached 400 students with 14 events. We also had common workshops with complementary projects and programs. Our project members connected with other projects and programs of several occasions. LIFEGENMON is in constant cooperation with Cost Actions, currently GBI, and LIFE projects, LIFE Systemic, LIFE Links, LIFE Artemis, just to name a few. LIFEGENMON project team members participated at more than 30 scientific, professional, legislative, governance events. We presented project aims, topics, progress, and findings as often as possible to a broad spectrum of audiences. Therefore, LIFEGENMON was presented at European Commission, UFRO and FAO meetings, congresses and conferences, ministries. As a result of all these activities, scientific monographies, proceedings of scientific meetings, and professional articles were published. Here are just a few of them on the slides. An article for genetic monitoring, an overview of concepts and definitions, for example, provides an overview of forest genetic monitoring concepts and definitions, discusses their advantages and disadvantages, and provides a flowchart of the steps needed for the optimization and implementation of forest genetic monitoring. And an article, Interplay between forest management practices, genetic monitoring, other long-term monitoring systems in forests, discusses the possibilities to combine forest genetic monitoring with other existing long-term forest monitoring systems. And this is just an example, and there are really many. You can also see in which magazines we've published. Another important group of publications are guidelines for forest genetic monitoring. Darius and Gregor had a keynote presentation on Tuesday on guidelines for conducting forest genetic monitoring of the 7 free species that are covered by LIFEGENMON. In the guidelines, we used illustrations that were done by 7 scientific illustrators. There was an exhibition of this work at the Slovenian Forestry Institute. And with this beautiful picture, I'm slowly ending my presentation. This is what LIFEGENMON has done to communicate the efforts that we need to make to help our forests to adapt to the changing environment and climate. And of course, we must put an effort also in climate change mitigation to help forests from the other angle as well. Thank you for your attention.